Doc here for DetroitBeardCollective.com, Detroit's premier grooming company. Visit DetroitBeardCollective.com if your beard is feeling dry, scaly, if you need to maintain your beard. This day and age, there's products out there that helps you take care of your beard. Beard butters will make your beard feel softer, better smelling than ever before. The Doc actually rocked a beard earlier this spring and summer, and I actually used the beard butter. I heard that Adam was into styling, and I'm like, you know what? Let me take care of myself. So I went to DetroitBeardCollective.com and bought the beard butter. My face actually does feel smoother. I definitely checked out the products at the Detroit Beard Collective. They got great t-shirts, oils, the ultra-popular Beard Crate, which is a wide assortment of a bunch of different Detroit Beard Collective products. So definitely support those who support us, DetroitBeardCollective.com.
Hey everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Thanks, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Doc and Jock Sports Podcast. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin, Adam the Jock Strozinski. And today, we got a special guest, Jerry Mallory, in the house. What's up, fellas?
How's it going?
What's up, buddy?
We're right in the middle of the week. The Lions are in London, and some of us are kind of hoping that they stay there. But based on their play, did you guys know that there is actually a petition? Someone went on the internet, went to the White House government website, and formed a petition that says that if 100,000 people sign it, they will look into revoking their passports to keep them there.
Dude, there's a Kickstarter account for people to buy the Lions. Like, they want to take it away from the Fords.
It's at like $140. They got a little ways to go to hit that 1.4 million. But.
Right.
My goodness.
This is what this team has done. This is what they have done to us.
Well, let's just get it started first. Adam was lucky enough this week to be on the Channel 7 WXYZ.com web show. It was fun. It was good to see. You did good. What was it like for you being there and going into a studio with a kind of a green screen and all the cameras on you? What was it like, big timer?
Dude, yeah, big timer. I haven't done anything like that since I had spent some time at Specs, man. So I got really nervous right before we went on, and I had no idea what camera I was supposed to look into because I had a couple lined up in front of you. And next thing I know, the producer kind of walks in. She's on the phone, and she kind of looks at Justin, and she's like, "Okay, you're live." And I was like, "Oh, we don't get a countdown. Let's just go." So yeah, it was a little bit nerve wracking, but it was a great time. I had a lot of fun doing it. Hopefully Justin will have us back, and I'd love to do it again with him. So he's a good guy, man. He's a friend of the podcast, man. He's a real good guy.
It was great. I mean, there was a lot of interaction. I was watching. There were a lot of questions, and, I really felt like...
I thought for sure you were going to call in.
No, I was... You know what I was doing? I'll tell you what I was doing. I was kind of tweeting, kind of following along, just to see how you were doing, how the flow of the conversation went, and I was like, you know what? I did the right thing, because I knew you'd do it. I knew you'd kill it. You did a great job, and it was nice to hear you say today when we chatted a little bit beforehand that they said that they got a lot of interaction, and they were very happy with what we could do for them.
Yeah, they said that it was... some of the best interaction and feedback that they've gotten in quite some time. So that was good. Hopefully next time we get to go back, I actually get my hair did, and I don't look like I'm a special student there. And hopefully I get a big boy chair, because Justin's a tall dude. I didn't realize how big he was. He's like 6'6"-ish, maybe a little bit smaller. I'm like all of 5'8", so that guy already towers over me. And then he got the big boy chair, and I got the little kid chair.
You'll upgrade to the bigger chair next time.
I hope so.
You earned it.
I hope so.
We got a lot of comments about that. They were like, "Wow, Adam's kind of low on the totem pole there." My goodness. Well, we're lucky in that when we do this podcast, we get a chance to really highlight people who really want to get out there and do their thing. The first person that did that was like Vito Churko. He does our baseball podcast. He just messaged me and was like, you know what? I love your platform. I love what you guys are doing. Let me do a podcast. And I'm like, okay. Same thing in the same situation. Our guy here, Jerry, was like, I think I can do this. I was into podcasting. And he's like, he messaged us, and here he is. Jerry, welcome, and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you're going to be doing with us.
Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, just looking at Detroit Sports Podcast, I love what you guys were doing. Your following on Twitter was strong. So I said, you know what? I wanted to get back into the podcasting regime again. I've done some videos for now, about 3 years with SB Nation. I do like that, but I love the long form of the podcast. I'm a little long-winded, so to have that opportunity to speak for 30 minutes, 45 minutes about something I'm passionate about is a good opportunity. So wanted to get in the podcast. I said, hey, let me call these guys up, show them some of the work I've done and try to get on with you guys. And looks like we're going to have a nice, beautiful relationship here on forward.
Yeah, dude, it happened real quick too, because you had told me that you got a guy in mind. You sent me some information. I looked at what he sent me, and then I jumped on Twitter and I messaged you. I said, get us something. Just get us, doesn't matter. Just let me hear something that you got. And you can tell that you're hungry and you want to do this and you're passionate about what you do, because basically within 15 minutes, you gave me like a 5-minute audio sample of something that was quality. It was good, because let's be honest, there's no half step in here. Like, if you're garbage, we're not going to put you on. We're not going to support you. We're not going to back you. We're not going to attach our name to you. You, however, gave us something very quick.
Appreciate that.
It was good. It was great quality. We liked it, and that's why you're here now, man. We hope big things for you, man. Hopefully everything works out really good here, and it's going to be awesome, man. Like you said, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful partnership here.
I appreciate that. It's all in the belly, man. That's why, when you guys hit me up, you wanted something. It's there. I just need that outlet to let it out. So I'm thinking this is going to be it.
Cool, man. This is going to be great.
So you're going to be talking Lions week to week. Are you ready now, after a 1-6 start, to kind of go through the roller coaster with the Lions? Because Adam and I, big-time fans, but we've been brutalized by the Lions. I mean, literally, I don't think there's any new wrinkle that we could say in terms of, hey, this team is so inept. You're ready to ride the train with the Lions week in and week out, talking about them, breaking down the ineptness that is the Detroit Lions franchise?
Yeah, it's much easier when they're winning because the interest is there. I'll tell you this much. I'm glad Lombardi is gone for several reasons. Number one, from a team standpoint, but that kind of reinvigorated the interest in the Lions. And I'm thinking about, I was there at the Minnesota game. I'm thinking, man, I'm about to join this network talking about the Lions. People are not going to be that interested. They're 1-6. The Lombardi firing, that allows the team to get better, but it also allows a lot more fodder. People are interested now. You got a guy named Jim Bob Cooter that's going to be your offensive coordinator. The name alone is going to give me hours of content, man. So,
sports.
Yeah, I'm ready. I've been talking about them for quite some time now. The 4-12 year, a couple years ago. So good, bad, and ugly. The diehards will listen. And with news coming out like the Lombardi situation, I think everyone that's mildly interested in the Lions are just curious to see what they're going to do. So we'll have a lot to bring to the audience.
It's going to be good, man. I'm already putting my thumbprint on it. I'm saying he's got my stamp of approval. This is going to be good. I can't wait for his first episode to drop. It's going to be great.
So are we looking then the first episode to come out this coming Monday?
Let's do it, man. The plan is to drop something every morning after a Lions game. So usually that'll be on a Monday because they usually play on Sundays. But when it's a Monday night football game, Tuesday morning, when they play on Thursday, Friday morning. So, that's when people want to talk about the team, right after the wins and the losses. So you guys will hear from me when you're on your way to work, from work, whatever it is, the day after the Lions game, you can hear this beautiful voice.
You got it. So every Monday or the day after the Lions game, because I know for some reason the NFL decided that, the 2015 Lions should be on Thursday Night Football. They should be on prime time. They should be on a couple Monday night games.
It happens every year. Yep. Whenever they bubble up for one season, they'll get like 5 primetime games, and they just disappoint and they embarrass themselves.
They can look horrible in front of the national audience once again.
So bad. So bad.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's dive right into it. Sunday afternoon's game was a disaster. And unfortunately, what made it so much worse was the start was epic. 2 touchdown drives, the offensive line looked good, the running game was effective, but all Minnesota had to do was make a couple of adjustments and everything went to shit, and it was awful. That was probably one of the tougher games to watch, not only because we lost, but because really, in essence, we really got hit in the face with the players aren't good, the organization isn't that great, the scheme that was put together wasn't the right one, and really it's tough when you watch a football game to know that the opposing coaches really came out and whooped your ass. And from top to bottom, in terms of the players that were on the field, in terms of the scheme, it was a total domination. And Mike Zimmer is a guy that can do that to you, and it happened.
I think that game was basically just the essence of it was everything that we've been struggling with all season long. From top to bottom, they got outworked, outcoached, out-schemed, outplayed, everything. When you look at it and you follow the trail where it leads back to Jim Caldwell. All this goes right back to his feet. Him not being able to make in-game adjustments. Him not being able to take over the play calling from Joe Lombardi, who was running essentially a high school offense, which is easy for these defenses to just annihilate. The blocking scheme for Matt Stafford, I'm surprised he's alive at this point.
Dude's tough, man.
There was a play in that game where he sat there. It literally looked like he was running for his life. He looked like he The ball was snapped to him. He took 3 steps, and it looked like he was trying to get away from that line as fast as he could. He had 3 guys on top of him, and they just annihilated him. All this goes back to Jim Caldwell, I think, just having these guys ill-prepared for this season. And the thing was, like you said, they started off so good. The first 2 drives, that offense looked like it was clicking and it was rolling. And you notice what they did, though? The one thing that they did, and it helped alleviate a lot of the pressure on that offensive line, because it's not good. It's not good yet. They sat there and they rolled the pocket. They allowed Matt Stafford to kind of get out and move, and what it does is it forces that defense to now be on its heels and have to try to scramble, and you do have talent on this team. Calvin Johnson's one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play. Matt Stafford has a gun for an arm. That's why you drafted him. That's why everybody loves this guy and why they're high on him. You have Golden Tate. You got Eric Ebron. You got a little bit of a running game with some running backs. You don't have an offensive line yet. But you sit there, you rotate the pocket, you sit there, you let him do a little bootleg, you let him kind of roll out, and he just throws it downfield, and you pick up 60 yards at a clip. And it was working. And then you stop. You didn't do it anymore. And whether that was because that was something that was Minnesota was doing different on defense that had you go in another direction, this was working, and you just stopped it, and you didn't go back and make any adjustments to get it working again. And that falls at the feet of the head coach and the offensive coordinator.
It's so sad. You look at Jim Caldwell. He's been there, done that, supposedly, right? Now, Mike Zimmer is his second year. You're not supposed to be out-coached by someone in their second year.
Exactly.
And you've been to the Super Bowl, and you've coached at the college level. You coached with Peyton Manning. Now you're here. It's supposed to be the other way around. Jim Caldwell is supposed to be out-coaching the second-year coach. A second-year coach is out-coaching someone that supposedly has this experience. And that's what's frustrating to me. The other thing that's frustrating is the complete lack of urgency on this team. And that's because of who's at top. Like you said, Adam, it's the coach. He's always calm, cool, and collected. That's good sometimes, but there's balance with everything. You're sitting there after the first 2 drives, you're not getting anything. No yards, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Why do you wait to the fourth quarter when you got like 3-4 minutes left to have a little bit of urgency? At some point, I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm saying, man, these guys need to do something a little bit different. Turn on the turbo button, whatever you need to do, because it's not working.
Right.
That's because they got out-coached. That's because they have no sense of urgency. Like you said, it starts with Jim Caldwell. It's so frustrating. And the other thing, too, Terrell Austin, I'm betting he's glad that the offense is getting so much look right now, because that's the narrative. What we're not talking about is how bad this defense.
Yes.
This defense is horrible.
Yep.
I know you've lost Ndamukong Suh, a great player, DeAndre Levy out for the year, but so many big plays given up in that secondary. Terrell Austin was supposed to be a head coach candidate next year. You can forget about that. And he should be thankful that the offensive line and the offense has looked as bad as it has, because if it has been a little bit better, the offense, the narrative would be how bad this defense is. And he's supposed to be the better of the 2 coordinators.
And sometimes you look to an organization to make the tough decisions. Now, Rashean Mathis last year had a productive year. You bring him back. What is it that they saw that showed them that, hey, this guy can cover young wide receivers? He's getting torched. I know he's got a lot of experience, and he can maybe pass that along. But right now, as an organization, you spent money. You gave a commitment to a guy who now got old quick. You didn't know that could likely to happen. It's just
I don't think he got old quick. I think
Diggs blew right by him.
I think a lot of what benefited him last year, though, was that defensive line. That defensive front sat there and covered up a lot of bullet wounds on that back 7. It allowed a guy like DeAndre Levy to become the Pro Bowl player and the All-Star that he was. And it allowed that secondary to look a lot better than what it really is. I mean, Rashean Mathis, we're talking about Rashean Mathis here, right? He should be a rotational player at best.
Yes.
And he is your starting corner. So there's a problem there. And I think that's a lot of the problem on the offensive side of the ball. It's in the trenches for both sides of the ball here. On the defensive side, you lost too many of those solid defensive tackles. They let too many guys go by, and they sat there and they went out and they tried to grab a few people, and they were like, okay, we can just plug them in. This is going to be great. We've got a scheme. We know what we're doing. It's going to be okay. But those guys haven't fit, and they haven't meshed well. And the guys that you were counting on have either been injured or just haven't played up to the caliber that you were expecting. And then you lose a guy like a DeAndre Levy, who is another giant Band-Aid on a bullet wound, because without him, you see what you're lacking in that linebacking crew. And now you translate this over to the offensive side of the ball. I mean, that's a whole new set of guys.
Right.
That's a brand new unit. And everybody was expecting, like, okay, this is going to be great. We're going to be able to run the ball because this unit was designed to run the ball. This unit hasn't come together. They haven't gelled. Matt Stafford is dying every play. I don't like Matt Stafford. I wouldn't mind if he died on the Honolulu Blue Lion helmet that is out there in the middle of Ford Field. I'm fine with it. I'm great with that. If that happens, great. All right? But you are not giving yourself a chance to win when he is getting annihilated every single play. He got sacked 7 times against Minnesota.
I don't care who be behind that line, man. They look horrible.
This is Minnesota. Come on, what's going to happen when you play Green Bay when you come back off the bye?
So
they're going to eat you alive.
Here's a point that I was thinking. The offensive line actually looked good in the first 2 drives.
The first 2 drives, yes.
They were running the ball. They were getting yards.
That's because they rotated the pocket and they had those guys moving. You had guards pulling. You had different things going on. You got those guys in a situation to where they didn't have to stand still.
So what I'm saying is, once Minnesota changed up the scheme and started bringing the pressure, why did they start continuing to pass after pass after pass?
Inferior coach.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm saying that. I think that with the changes, there is a chance that if you give these guys better coaching, they have a better chance. Not to say that they're going to win, but I think maybe with a new offensive scheme, with a new voice there on the offensive line, because they looked out-coached. And I don't think so much. I know that the talent level is in question, but I do think if they were coached better and if the scheme was right and they were able to maybe mix and match and do different things, they could have had more success and maybe kept with the run, maybe use some inside draw plays, do some things instead of getting your quarterback killed.
Here's a question for both of you guys. Do you think maybe Jim Caldwell came into this season sitting a little bit fat after his, 11-5 season, and maybe didn't sit there and do the things that he did the season before with these guys to get them prepared for the regular season?
You hit the nail on the head.
I feel like I said season like 9 times there.
And it's even deeper than Jim Caldwell. This is something I noticed. We can go back to 2011. This team is not proactive. Martin Mayhew is not proactive. When they won 10 games that one year, he made no changes to the lineup. They brought back, I think, 21 out of the 22 starters thinking, hey, we went 10-6 last year. We don't have to improve. We don't have to progress. But guess what? The good coaches, the good GMs, they're constantly progressing. They're proactive. So when you look at a guy like Rasheem Mathis, okay, we got the old man to play good for a season or two, but guess what? At some point, the bottom's going to fall out. So instead of waiting for the bottom to fall out while he's on the field, why don't I go bring in another veteran cornerback that in the event that Mathis can't play as good as he has, I have someone right there. Or I can move Mathis into a secondary role on the bench as a substitution. It's just like with Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley. You're sitting there. You have a chance to have a good replacement in Aaron Donald. You know you're not going to keep both of the guys.
Let's go get Eric Ebron, baby.
You know you're not going to keep both of them. There is no way that Suh and Fairley would return. You're sitting there. You have Aaron Donald. You don't draft him. This year, it's the same thing. They're not proactive. The NFL is constantly moving, constantly changing. You see schemes come and go. You have to keep moving with the times. This team that has not done it, Caldwell hasn't done it, but particularly Mayhew. You look at that 10-win season, he made no changes because he thought they were all set. Same with this year. They win 11 games. They don't see the need to be proactive and to keep moving with the times. And when you don't do that, that's why you'll have a 10-win season and then drop all the way down to 4 wins. And we don't know how few they're going to win this year.
Now, I want to ask you guys this. Do you guys maybe sense that there's a underlying tension between the coaches and the players? Because when there's talk about what happened, like let's go, for example, on that 3rd down play, 3rd and 13, you call a running play. Now the coach, that's stupid.
You converted 1 3rd down that entire game. You're sitting there doing a toss sweep on 3rd and 13.
Now these guys are professional. I do believe that Joe Lombardi knew that if he ran a pass play, Stafford would get killed. So he had to, based on the talent that's on the field, based on what he's been seeing, call that play. He's not stupid enough to believe that they were actually going to execute that. But
dude, I don't know about that, dude. Joe Lombardi I have no hope for that guy whatsoever. No. I no confidence in him at all. I think he's an idiot. I really do.
I don't think so, because
You think he's smart? You think he's good at what he does?
I think that I don't think that.
Are you watching this with Honolulu tinted glasses?
Look at the offensive line. They couldn't adjust to anything. You had Lakin getting blown up. You had missed assignments. I am gonna go Bobby Ross here. I don't think Jim Caldwell coached that. No, I don't think
abandoned ship.
No, I don't think they coached that. I think that they internally may know that the talent that they got is not as quality as it needs to be. Now, Jim Caldwell is responsible because he's in the meetings when they pick players. Mm-hmm. But I do believe the coaches, if you sat them down here and there were no cameras and no reporters, they would say, I think Mayhew might have made a mistake in terms of how he mixed this pot.
I feel like the reason that Ebron is here is because of Lombardi. He wanted his Jimmy Graham. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly
I
what
think the
that
coaches
is.
and coordinators have a big influence on who's brought in. And that's how the Lombardi effect is going to keep giving. Even though he's gone, you sit there and you got to look at Eric Ebron.
Yep.
You have an offensive line that these guys are bigger. They're known as maulers, but you put them in a zone blocking scheme. Lombardi tried to pigeonhole players into a system when their skill set didn't really fit that.
Yep.
We're not in New Orleans. We don't have an offensive line that gave Breeze all that time. We don't have an accurate quarterback. His system, you need time to throw. You need an accurate quarterback. We don't have that. And you spread the ball around. Our offense doesn't really need to spread the ball around. We have two great receivers, force them the ball. So I think Lombardi had a big deal to do with even some of the players that were brought in.
And this goes right back to Martin Mayhew and the way that he has drafted over the course of his career here. And this is a big reason why I firmly believe that Martha needs to get him out of here. He sits there and he drafts these guys. And we talked about this before. Before Brian Zanders came in, he had no way of sitting there and addressing talent. They had no system, none whatsoever. Basically, they would send scouts out. The scouts would look over these guys. I think they would probably get something from Kuiper or from McShay, and they'd be like, oh, these guys look good. Let's go with this guy. He can catch the ball. Let's put butts in the seats. Let's build offense. When what puts butts in the seats is winning. If you win, you're going to sell out every single game. It doesn't matter if you win 13-10. As long as you're winning.
Especially here, we want to win so bad, man. Come on.
Just win. And Martin Mayhew has done this time and time again. He said, with going back to the Nick Fairley and the Ndamukong Suh thing that you were talking about, they came out, which is a huge misstep by the GM. Whether or not you want to bring Nick Fairley back or not, you go out and you basically tell him, yeah, we're not picking up your option.
Right.
So now you've shot yourself in the foot with Nick Fairley, so you can't bring him back at all the next season.
Nope.
You know Ndamukong Suh's on his way out the door. At least all of us knew it. They had no idea, apparently. Right. So now you have no Ndamukong Suh. You have no Nick Fairley, who I believe was a part-time player. He played when he wanted to play. But whatever, he was still effective. And in that scheme, he was effective. All right, so now you shot yourself twice in the foot. All right, you don't go out and get a guy like Aaron Donald. Now you shot yourself 3 times in the foot because now you have Eric Ebron. This draft comes along. You know you don't have Suh. You don't have Fairley. You didn't pick up Donald the year before. There's a guy out there, Malcolm Brown. I know he's not doing a ton in New England, but I think he would have looked real nice here, and he would have been another piece for you to build around and gave Terrell Austin something to work with, and you don't do it. You don't do it. You go get John's boy, Captain ACC Player of the Year, Mr. Laken Tomlinson.
Dr. Laken Tomlinson. Future doctor.
Yeah, there you go.
They want all good guys on the team.
And that guy looks like a goddamn turnstile.
You need some dirt bags, man.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't need all good guys on your team. You think Belichick cares about that? If they're good or not? He knew Aaron Hernandez had a checkered past, but guess what? He could play football.
That's right.
And that's all we care about.
Dude, Aaron Hernandez is out there chopping body parts up and stuffing them in bags, freezing them, and then shipping them off to Mexico. Come on, bro.
And if he never got caught, Belichick would still have him on the Patriots.
Playing.
Exactly.
Still be playing.
Yep.
Well, after the disaster, you kind of on the show, on the webcast at WXYZ, they were talking about, are there going to be moves? And you had said you don't think that they're going to blow out Coach Caldwell.
Anybody in that room, we all did not think that Joe Lombardi was going. We thought that he had at least another turn. Maybe if they were going to make a move, it'd be after the bye or during the bye week.
And they came in with breaking news, and you're like, Lombardi's gone? And they were like, no, not yet. Yeah. But later in the day, I think because of the pressure, I do believe that Mrs. Ford, my opinion is Mrs. Ford made the call and said, make some changes.
You're right on, bro.
And so now, with that, if she made the call, then that might spark some thoughts in my mind that maybe if it bottoms out, if we have a 9, 10, 11 loss year, she might be willing to blow out Mayhew and everybody else.
This is something I was talking to my mom about, because my mom's like all of a sudden become this monster sports fan. I have no idea where it's come from. But I was driving home and I was talking to my mom, and she was like, so you're really surprised that they fired that coach, eh? Like, she has no idea what he does or what his role is. And I was like, yeah, because the history of the Fords is to not do this. They usually sit back and they'll handle it at the end of the year. And usually these guys get another year to sit there and kill themselves. So it's never this quick. And I was like, the difference is Martha's in control now. Miss Firestone is up there, and I think she might be swinging Thor's hammer. And the reason I say this is because she seems much more engaged in what's going on. There's already been reports that Junior has no control over anything.
Yeah, he had a little bit when WCF was there, but not with Martha.
Exactly. So it seems like Martha has her fingertips in this a lot more than maybe Mr. Ford did, maybe than Junior did, and she's witnessing what's going on, and I think she maybe wants a winner. She wants something good, and I don't know because I've not talked to her. You've not talked to her. I'm guessing you've not talked to her. So and I think I've only seen her like twice, right? So she's almost like the Queen of England. She's there and she does what she does, but you don't really see her. But I think she has her fingers on the pulse of what's going on, and I think that she will be quick to react. And I think that's a good thing. You know, we talked about the fans trying to buy the team and sit there and get it away from the Fords. She might be the change that we need here. I'm not sure. I like I said, I've never met her. I don't know. But the fact that Joe Lombardi was
broomed out,
yes, before the bye week says something to me. And it makes me take pause, makes me scratch my head, and makes me think that she is in control more than what we thought she was in.
Now, fellas, what's funny is the Lions do a firing, which everybody wants, and Coach Caldwell bumbles that. He comes out at 12:30 conference and is like, we're good, we're evaluating. And then at a couple hours later, Joe Lombardi's gone. So it took you 4 hours to evaluate what mess that was?
He came out and he said there will be no changes. We're still evaluating. There will be no changes. Like, he said no changes.
Evaluating what?
Oops.
Right. And then he comes out hours later and you got to see Joe Lombardi driving off, talking on a phone, all upset. And then next thing you know, there's a press conference saying that Jim Bob Cooter is now your offensive coordinator.
And Jim Caldwell comes out and is like, well, I made the decision and it was all me and I I ran it by.
Exactly.
You know that Mrs. Ford said changes must be made, him or you. And Caldwell had to bite the bullet and made the decision. So why not just say, hey, it's an organizational decision. We have to play well. I'm kind of surprised that he's PC, but he's trying to does he think we're stupid?
Yes, he does.
I think he's trying to protect what he's got going. I think he's trying to protect himself and he's trying to protect everybody else. You can't. In a situation like this, you can't. The ship's going down. The ship is going. It's like the Titanic, dude. You're either gonna be what's his nuts and Kate sitting there floating on a door. You're gonna be Leo and Kate sitting there floating on a door, freezing, or you're gonna get in the rowboat and you're gonna get pushed off to safety. Dude, just jump in the rowboat. Here's your way out. Get in the rowboat and go. Don't be Leo. Don't hang on to the door.
Yeah, guys.
It's going to be okay.
There's loyalty.
I know Kate's boobs were great in that movie, but just don't do it, dude.
There's loyalty and then there's stupidity. Once you get your quarterback sacked 7 times, once you saw that scheme, I don't even know why it got to Monday.
Dude, here's the deal, too.
Sunday, 3 o'clock, press conference should have been called. Sorry, we went in we have to go in a different direction. The season's, we're on the brink of disaster. We should have made a move Sunday.
I'm derailing the program for a minute. That bitch could have moved over. Leo could have got on that door with her, and they could have sat there and froze on top of that door together. Mythbusters sat there and proved it. I watched it. Hate the Titanic. Stupid movie.
What you talking about, Will?
Anyways, let's go. Let's keep talking.
What'd you think,
I
Jerry?
just took this whole thing off and just burned it.
You know, the issue with Jim Caldwell, like you said, it was no way that he made that decision. My only hope is that Martha or whoever was part of this is slowly moving up the ladder from the bottom on up. So the coordinator's gone and she's got that Grim Reaper sickle. She's moving up the next rung to Caldwell, to Mayhew, to Lewan if necessary, because Caldwell, he just doesn't have it, man. And he alienates himself from the fans. He alienates himself from the media. He keeps making these horrible in-game blunders. It just isn't there. And the issue with Lombardi for me is it isn't like all of a sudden the offense got bad. The offense was bad all of last year, too. So he should have been looking at Lombardi and looking at replacing him during the offseason. But let's say no. Okay, we'll let the offseason do its thing. It shouldn't have took 7 games for them to make this decision. A horrible first year with Lombardi. Give him about 2 or 3 games into the next year. This move should have been made at the latest around week 3 or week 4. But now we're 7 games in, no chance of having any type of rebound. See, these are the issues I have with Caldwell. He's got to go.
What percentage chance do you think that with Jim Bob Cooter running things now, now the Lions only have like 1 guy on the offensive line staff, when most teams have like 6. So they're going to be thin at the offensive line and coaching them up. So you're not going to be able to really retool everything, but I do think that Jim Bob Cooter can potentially maybe on 3rd downs call better plays, maybe put together some, different schemes and things like that going forward. What do you guys think about the future? Is this going to bottom out, or maybe does it level off and maybe we go 500 the rest of the way?
This is what's going to happen. They're going to come out and they're going to win in London. They're going to sit there. They're probably going to steamroll a really bad Kansas City team. Kansas City's not good. They lost their best offensive weapon in Jamal Charles. They're going to sit there. They're going to roll them. And then they're going to come back off the bye, and they're going to get annihilated by Green Bay. Green Bay's going to feast on them. And then after that, they might win against San Francisco, because San Francisco's a complete dumpster fire. And then after that, I don't see anything else, man. I really don't. It's bad. I mean, I don't expect you to go to Soldier Field in January and get a win. I just don't see that. They don't play well in the cold. I don't see them doing that. It's a road game. Chicago's going to be mad. I mean, shit, Chicago almost beat them when they were here. The only reason they didn't was I think Detroit got lucky, and that's an awful, awful defense. So maybe 1 or 2 more wins, and yeah, I think it'll bottom out.
And ultimately, that's what you want, because there is no chance of making the playoffs. So if their ceiling is 6-7 games, you don't want them to win 6 or 7 games, because if they win 6 or 7, they rally toward the end, and then there's the built-in excuse why we're keeping Mayhew, why we're keeping Jim Caldwell. No, you want them to win 3 or 4. And I hate saying that. I'm such a Lions fan. I never root for them to lose. It's just not in me. But this situation is bad. They don't need a Band-Aid. They need surgery, okay? So they need to, from top to bottom, they need to look horrible. That's the best case scenario for them, because if they look horrible, if they win 2 or 3, maybe 4 games, we can actually see some changes. And I think that is what's going to happen ultimately. They'll look a little bit better on offense, but that defense is so bad. Aaron Rodgers is going to just light them up. I don't see them doing much against Philadelphia. So even with the changes in offense, it might look a little bit better. Can't look any worse. They should still only win about 3 games, 4 tops for the rest of the year.
Man, things are looking dire. And, right now I do believe, though, the fan base has now risen to the point, and they've made their voices heard. They're not happy with this. Ford Field is emptying out week in and week out. The fans are angry. There's petitions. The fans on Twitter are very vocal. I do believe that even though the organization made the move to fire Lombardi, they still are saying, hey, it starts with the top. And I do believe that Martin Mayhew needs to go, just due to the fact that in his regime, they haven't been able to draft effectively. And just the very nature that the 2011 draft, we have nobody on the current roster from that draft. These guys would be in their prime. The draft has been ineffective. And this is the reason why the Lions fans don't want 1 year of 11 wins and then total disaster the next few years. We need consistency. And it starts with the organization, and it starts with the guys above the coaches. And if they don't do that, it's going to be same old, same old. We'll be talking about this on episode 215. That's just the way it's going to be.
Before we move on, you get a top 3 pick, all right, because you finished the season and you've done that horrible all year long. What are you guys looking to take? What are you looking to draft?
Offensive line or defensive line. They have to start there. They have to rebuild that again. It's not good enough.
Yeah, it's got to be in the trenches. 2 names that stick out for me is that tackle from Ole Miss, Laramie Tunsil.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like, the real deal. So if he's there, you can put him at left tackle, move Reef over to right tackle, or let Tunsil play right tackle for a year. But he'd be your left tackle of the future. Joey Bosa, whatever, defensive end, Ohio State, he looks pretty good. Quarterback is just not realistic. Number one, there really isn't a quarterback that's coming out this year that would be like, oh, we have to draft him. There isn't an Andrew Luck. There isn't even what we thought Alex Smith would be. When he came out, we thought he would be a can't miss type of guy. There isn't that guy this year. And with the line playing so bad, it's really masking Stafford. It's protecting Stafford in a sense. It's odd. The offensive line being so bad, it's protecting him because we don't know how bad Stafford is because he has no time to throw the ball. So like you said, John, it's got to be either offensive line or defensive line.
And then with that said, Martin Mayhew will keep his job, and we're drafting Connor Cook, baby. You know it. Connor Cook will be the backup, and they'll sell that to no end.
Dude, you know what the messed up thing is? He is probably the most pro-ready quarterback to come out this year. That's just where I guess the quarterback. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I mean, we're not going to sit here and we're not going to pine over Connor Cook here, but I don't think he's a bad quarterback. But it's just so thin this year.
It's a weak class.
Yeah, it's just so thin. There's nothing there, and I think Connor Cook might be the number 1 quarterback taken.
That's what sucks about the Lions, because the Lions is not just a weak quarterback class. This draft class isn't that strong.
No.
They don't even pick the right years to lose, man.
Screw up.
They don't even pick the right years to lose.
You screw up at the most inopportune times.
Even when there's coaching availabilities, like the year when Andy Reid was available, that would have been nice to bring him in. Right. We don't even pick the right years to lose. Like the year we fired Jim Schwartz, our 2 options is Ken Wisenhunt and Jim Caldwell. That's what really pisses me off about the Lions. They don't even know when to lose, man. It's so frustrating.
when they hired Caldwell, we said he's a gatekeeper. But, man, can you gatekeep? Can you at least get us 8 wins? I mean, okay, the 11-win season was great. You had a great defense, a top defense maybe of all time in top 10 in terms of their numbers. But can you at least gatekeep this year? Can you get us 8, 9 wins? I mean, the guys that were predicting, the reporters and pundits that were talking about this year were saying, oh, yeah, 9, 10 wins should be no problem. Maybe they'll take a step back to 8 and 8. You're taking a step back to 4 wins? Come on now.
Inexcusable.
It is bad.
It's brutal. And you know what the worst part is? Whenever they have a regime change, they go from a guy who's in your face, brash, loud, and aggressive to a guy who's soft. Now they'll go back to another guy who's loud, brash, and aggressive.
Back to an extreme.
Yeah, it just no consistency whatsoever with this organization.
Okay, so then before we end it, your percentage level of confidence that next year there'll be a new regime, new general manager, new head coach. 20%? I say 20%.
I'll go a little bit better, 25, just because I think Martha's in control, and I think she's got her finger in the pudding. I think she knows what's going on.
I think it's going to be a little bit higher. I go about 40%. You know, I really think that, like you mentioned with Martha, because I want to say this is her second full season as the owner. So the first full year, or even the half year that she was there, we saw Jim Schwartz get ousted because William Clay died during that season, if my memory serves me correct. So the first year, and they won 7 games that year. They almost won the division. So the old Lions narrative could have been, hey, we were 1 game from winning the division. But no, her first offseason, she got rid of a guy after winning 7 games.
Didn't one of you guys tell me, too, that she came into the locker room after they lost, was it the Giants game or whatever, and she fired Jim Schwartz on the spot, but they still had, like, another game.
Oh, wow.
And like, yeah, it was – so, like –
it's a rumor that's floating around the media a little bit that kind of, I think they said it on the radio.
She basically came down from up top and got in Jim Schwartz's face in the middle of the locker room, canned his ass, and then had to sit there and take it back because they had another game to play and they were still playoff eligible.
Maybe she's a little more proactive than we think. So under that theory, and then they bring in Jim Caldwell. They have a good year, 11-5, so his job is safe. But now when they're trending toward 3-4 games, you know, if she's as proactive as we're hoping, and that's just a hope, then maybe there will be a change.
Man, part of me would like to see, Mrs. Martha Ford up there and just being like, Jim Caldwell wasn't effective. We have to go in a different direction. That site might be interesting to see. We have to go in a different direction. We are going to fire Mayhew, Lawan, and just clean house. That would be some moment.
Dude, that'd be awesome. Think about it. It'd be like a new lease on life.
Yeah, it'd be a nice made-for-TV movie, too.
Oh, my God.
Have Martha Ford being played by, I don't know who, Angela Lansbury or something.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to play a round of the Doctors in Session, and then we'll talk wings on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, Doc and Jock, episode 116.
Stay with us. The lady from Murder, She Wrote.
That's right, baby.
Doc and Jock here for Fanatic U. If you're looking for some sweet sports swag and you love your Detroit teams, and I mean you really love your Detroit teams, you got to check out fanaticu.com. Check out fanaticu.com. Use promo code DSP. Save 15% even off the clearance items. And get the coolest gear out there and rock your Red Wing shirt, rock your Lions shirt, rock your Old English D to the Tiger games, rock your Piston apparel, wear it till the wheels fall off. Michigan State, you know what? They got it too. Check out Fanatic U. They have 6 locations all over Metro Detroit. Check them out, fanaticu.com.
Yeah, we coming now. Come on. Yeah, that's right. It's like a family in here, just a little disabled. Putting it down, we lay them out on the table. Who's in the house? The brothers in the house. Gotta turn it on out, let you know what we about. Kinda like Cain and Abel, a bit unstable. Don't be breaking the brain, break the whole damn table.
All right, thank you guys for listening, sticking with us. Man, this has been a good, fun podcast talking about the Lions. Right now, we're about to play a round of the Doctors in Session, where the Jocks got 3 great questions lined up, and I'm ready to deliver. And special guest Jerry will definitely weigh in on some of these questions as well. Feel free. And what we call the Doctor is in Session.
But to be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here. I'm the man. Woo!
What do you got for me, Jack?
All right, Jerry, I want your thoughts on these too. So don't feel bad stepping all over whatever he's saying, because what he says usually is very important.
10-4.
All right, I want to know what your guys' thoughts on the Greg Hardy sideline outburst was.
Listen, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's really got their eye on Greg Hardy because of his past and his alleged indiscretions with females, and the fact that the Dallas Cowboys took a chance on him. A lot of people were wondering why a guy like Ray Rice was barred from the NFL after what he did because of the videotape. You know, Greg Hardy got off on a technicality after on his second go around with court. But, you know, Jerry Jones took the chance on the guy, and he brought him in, and he had to serve a 4-game suspension. So now this guy's been sitting waiting for 4 games, and he had to watch what he watched versus the Giants. They were scratching and clawing, and they made a special teams blunder, and he's coming off. He's hot. He's heated. He's, you know, really upset, and he's got to see a guy on the sidelines chirping at him. I understand in the heat of the moment you want to support your teammates, but Des Bryant should have just stayed to the side, let Greg Hardy vent his frustrations. Now, the issue with the coaches was terrible.
Dude, he attacked
but I agree.
the coach.
Yeah, you got to set a precedent.
He
man.
attacked the coach,
Smack
bro.
that board out of his hand.
Right.
Listen, the reason why I'm going to...
He was ready to pick him up and rip him in 2.
Listen,
Mortal Kombat style.
in order to play NFL football, you got to ramp up and you got to be at the level where you're almost like a savage. And you can't just turn that off. Going in and out of the game, I understand that level. Being a tennis player, I knew that. You said it yourself.
I love when you bring up your athletic prowess.
You said it yourself. When your adrenaline got going, you said it yourself. It was kind of hard to come down. On a smaller scale, it's hard to come down. Now imagine that ramped up by 1,000. You were just on set on a web show. Imagine playing NFL football. You got to be ramped up. And so I understand it's wrong. But I don't, have disdain for a guy like Greg Hardy.
But
NFL players have to have that.
Coach.
You can't.
I don't
Too
care.
far.
I don't care if he's your line coach. I don't care if he's the head coach. I don't care if he's the dummy who's the special teams coach holding the clipboard. You can't attack a coach.
He's still on the team. And
Jerry, what are your thoughts? Just shh.
Jerry Jones gave him support. So does the doc.
Yeah, okay. But Jerry Jones is an idiot.
Good reference point.
Right. Jerry Jones is a moron.
I'm not mad at Greg Hardy, okay? And this is why. Greg Hardy is an idiot. He's a malcontent. He's a loser. We know that about Greg Hardy, okay? Greg Hardy is being Greg Hardy. You can't get mad at that guy. It's like looking at a 4-year-old and it's a bunch of chocolate right there. You tell him not to eat it. What's he going to do? He's going to eat it. I'm mad at the Cowboys. Jason Garrett saying it's okay, making an excuse. Jerry Jones saying it's okay. You have to set a precedent.
He's showing leadership.
Yeah, that's not showing leadership. You have to set a precedent. So if it's okay for him to do it, it's okay for everyone else to do it. And where do you draw the line? So, and this is the issue when you bring in a Greg Hardy or drafting Randy Gregory. When you draft these guys, they're talented. It's a reason why Greg Hardy didn't have that many suitors. So I'm not mad at him because he's an idiot. An idiot's going to be an idiot. I'm mad at the coaching staff. I'm mad at the owners for backing him up because those are the guys that are supposed to be responsible. They're supposed to have common sense. He isn't. So they should have nailed him a little bit harder than what they did.
I love the Greg Hardy story too. When you compare that and you contrast it to what Tom Brady did, Tom Brady, they're looking to sit there and suspend him for an entire season. Let's just recount what Greg Hardy did. Greg Hardy beat the living crap out of his girlfriend. He took a phone cord and tried choking the life out of her after he threw her on a bed of assault rifles.
Quality individual.
The guy basically had an armory in his living room, and then he sat there and decided to almost murder his girlfriend. And that guy got all of 4 games.
Yep. But listen.
Love you, NFL.
Listen.
Make no sense.
We're not asking these guys to teach our kids. We're asking this guy to maul the offensive line and kill the quarterback.
And I get that.
So if he does that, he's on my team.
But he tried to maul his coach. And like Jerry said, this is on the Cowboys. When you've got your owner, you've got your head coach coming out, and they're not backing their own staff. They're backing the player who sat there and tried to become Goro on the special teams coordinator, no less.
Okay, so then you got to put it on the table. If Greg Hardy gets you 12 sacks, 2 turnovers, some touchdowns, and he's got some
Apparently
issues.
it's good enough for the Cowboys.
I mean, is it good enough for you? He'd be on my team. If he's a guy, 12 sacks, he's a productive member of the team, he's on my team.
No, here's the deal.
And you deal with the shit.
Greg,
you deal with it.
For certain guys, I'll make certain cases for where you got to have a like we said with the Lions, you got to have a bad guy. All right, and I'm cool with that sometimes. But Greg Hardy goes to extremes, bro. Like there's bad, and then there's like Greg Hardy bad, and that's just way too bad. There's just that guy. I really feel like he's gonna kill somebody in his own locker room.
This is bad.
Yes, he's nuts. All right,
Very
let's
bad.
move on.
And you should know better, Doc. From the team psyche, when you got a guy that's able to smack things out of the coordinator's hand, the 12 sacks and all that's fine, but you know good and well that messes with team unity, that messes with chemistry. You're going to have one faction maybe on Greg Hardy's side, the other faction on Des Bryant's side. So it's not just the stats on the field. It's much deeper than that. The team psyche, the team unity definitely gets affected with a guy like that.
No forgiveness in this room. My goodness.
Done. All right. So on Tuesday night, we had an epic game 1 of the World Series. What were your guys' thoughts of that? It went 14 innings. I was glued to my TV because I didn't have to work early on Wednesday, so I was glued to my TV watching this until like the wee hours. It was incredible to watch.
Poor Mets fans, man. They were just, ninth inning, you have the lead, and the closer blows it. Is it Familia? Yeah, he blow his first save in a long time. It's one of those things where, the Mets are...
It was Bartolo. Cologne was out there.
No, I don't know if you know, but the closer in the ninth inning who blew
the
it.
ninth inning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think his last name is Familia. It's a unique name. But, the Mets were
Or
leading...
Spanish for family. Super unique.
But in the end... Kansas City, and they were my pick to win the World Series. They're dogs, man. They fight, they claw, they're never out of it. They open the game with an inside the park, or they're opening at bat inside the park home run. That was great. It was a great World Series game. I watched it from inning 1 to inning 14. I was up. I was trying to stay excited. It was a great game to watch. And what's good about the World Series is you got the two best teams playing. They're gonna match wits with each other. I like the fact that right now this game 2 is gonna be exciting because. Kansas City went through their entire bullpen basically in order to get to the 14 innings. So I was excited. It lived up to the hype. How funny is that? During the game, the truck went out on Fox. You're like, oh, why is the game off? And you're like, at 2015 in the World Series, power, baby. The power went out. Basic technical problems that everyone would have, the power went out. So it had a little bit of everything. It had a little bit of excitement. I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. This series deserves to go 7. And I got KC winning it all. I loved it. If every game was like game 1, we're in for a treat, baby. Oh, man.
I liked it, and as a Tigers fan, maybe I'm not supposed to like the Kansas City Royals, but I do.
You have to.
If you remember, they were supposed to be good like 6-7 years ago with Hosmer and all these young guys, and it just never could do it. I feel sorry for them. You look and say, oh, this is the year, this is the year, this is the year. And I think last year I just gave up and said, no, it's never going to happen for them. And that was the year that they actually took care of business going to the World Series. So definitely an epic finish. I'm rooting for them. I'm kind of like a little closet Kansas City Royals fan. I love what they got going on. I love how they built their team, and I feel like they will win it this year. And it's really cool too when a team comes out of nowhere and they reach a finals or they get close to a championship. You always wonder if it's a fluke. You got to do it twice for it to mean something. And they're there again. I think they're going to win it this time. And that game was awesome. I was watching the Pistons game for the most part, flipping back and forth. It was great to know that I had so many more innings left even after the Pistons game. So, yeah, I'm cheering for the Royals. Great game.
There's nothing like baseball. There's nothing like World Series baseball. Every pitch, when you get in the later innings is important, amplified. The fans are into it. World Series baseball is awesome.
All right, so you guys basically answered my next question was, who do you have winning it all?
KC, baby. They
How
need to
many
take it down.
games?
7.
7?
Royals in 5.
Ooh.
They're going to get done quick.
Wow. That was after that game, I was sitting there and I was like, I looked at my wife because she had just got home from work, and I was like, it's a shame that somebody had to lose this game. Like, you almost wish they could have played another 14 innings the way it was going because, like you said, Doc, just matching wits back and forth. It was great. All right, so what has you guys most excited for this Detroit Pistons season?
Let me tell you, I know Jerry's excited to talk about this, and I know he's a big Pistons guy too, but it was exciting to see the Pistons, who didn't exactly shoot that well, play a great, solid game, and they hung with the team that was widely respected in the NBA. What I liked was in the
Talking about
offseason...
against Atlanta, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And what I liked in the offseason was this team really made a point to say, you know what, we're going to do things together. We know in the NBA you got to be a team. Like the Spurs, like the Golden State Warriors. You got to be all together, all in the program. So a lot of the guys worked out in Vegas. A lot of the guys, really trained hard together. And I really like the fact that Stan Van Gundy has put this mix together with a good mix of veterans and young guys. And that first game was exciting. You had everything that we needed. All the starters, double digits. You had Drummond dominating. 18 points, 19 rebounds. That's what we've been looking for consistently out of Andre Drummond. And you know why? He's got that max deal money in his eyes. He knows what's up. He knows if he balls out this year, 5 years, 120. If you tell me that, I'm balling. Night in, night out. So I'm hoping that he can be consistent. You had the shooters play well. I really liked what Morris did.
Baby.
Brought some energy. I love the fact that Stan Van Gundy is the president and the coach of this team, because this young group of guys, they can't run roughshod over him like some past teams have. They know that, hey, you mess with the big dog, you mess with the coach, he's going to put your ass in the D League or send your ass out of here. He's not going to wait. and Stan Van Gundy is the right guy to lead this young mix of guys. And the game was exciting. We dominated a good team, and without maybe playing our best basketball. It was fun to watch, man. 1-0, and let's do this, man. Let's make a run.
It's refreshing, man. I feel like a proud father watching these guys because, we've been following KCP, and I've been a big Caldwell Pope critic. Me and a buddy of mine, we go back and forth. I've not been impressed by him, but he showed me a lot yesterday, as well as with Andre Drummond. This is a game that we lose, guys, a year ago, 2 years ago. I mean, we saw this so many times. We started off hot. We went up 5 points. Then we ended up going down 5 points. In previous years, that's it. We don't win that game. So to see them win was refreshing. To see Stan Van Gundy, period, is refreshing because we live in a sports media world now where so many coaches are PC, where they say what they think is the right thing to say. When you have a guy that is so forthcoming, he tells it like it is. What's on his mind, he says it. So if he likes a player, he likes him. If he doesn't like him, he says it. This is so rare in sports today. So to see this guy building the team, like you mentioned, it's not going to be another Orlando situation because he's the chief. He's at the top. He's the president. He's the coach. And also, like what you mentioned, and I agree with this too, Doc, that wasn't their knockout punch. That wasn't the Pistons' knockout punch. In the NBA, especially 82-game season, any team could beat any team, especially if a team delivers their knockout punch. This wasn't the Pistons' knockout punch. They shot 38%. They weren't flawless. They weren't perfect. So this lets me know that they can play even better. And so it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to this year.
Now, you said something about KCP. He has gotten better incrementally year after year. Now, last year, there was a noticeable difference with how he played at home versus on the road. He wasn't as consistent, but his game lends to something that you can watch and say, hey, this guy's got some talent. Why didn't you why did you say you didn't like his game?
And he'll always have a spot in the NBA because he can shoot and he can play defense. So it wasn't so much of me saying that he doesn't belong in the league, but I looked at him more as a guy coming off the bench, a 3-and-D type of guy, because of those home versus road splits. And that was my biggest thing. To me, that said, if you struggle on the road, but you can hit the shots at home, it's something up here. It's something in the head. So if we have to count on you in a playoff game, well, I have to worry. He also struggles from the free throw line. Those things are mental. We know this guy can shoot the ball, so I always worried about what was upstairs with him. So the fact that this was a road game, it may have been even more of a pressurized game too because he played in his home state, so he probably had family and friends there. That was a huge step for him because he can shoot, he can play. I just always worried if he could put it together mentally, and this was a great step in the right direction. I hope he proves me wrong.
So what are you thinking, bottom line? Playoff team this year? I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Before this game, I said they go 42-40, which is probably good for about 6 or 7 in the East. I'm not going to change it too much based off of one game. I'll stick with that. I think they'll make the playoffs. They'll be slightly over 500. But if they play like this every night with the defense,
upper 40s, mid 50s, maybe.
Yeah,
you never know.
It could be even higher. And this is the effect. Not to go back to the Lions, when you have a competent guy as your coach and as your GM, you can turn this thing around so quick. He's had so much roster overhaul just in a couple of years. And it was so obvious that
9 months.
Yeah.
In 9 months.
It was so obvious that they needed to get rid of Greg Monroe. You look at that 10, 11 game stretch when Monroe was injured last year. Those guys looked great when Anthony Tolliver was their stretch for. And so now we get to see that for 82 games. It's exciting.
Exactly. That's what everyone was noticing, that, wow, Greg Monroe gone, freed up the offense, and now Andre Drummond's free to do his thing. It's going to be fun to watch. And they play a lot of games early, so we get a chance to really see what this team can do.
I think it's great to see how this team has come together, and basically it's been shaped and molded in Stan Van Gundy's image. And I know he looks like Ron Jeremy, so don't take that the wrong way. But this is how he likes to play basketball. This is what he wants these guys to do, and he now has his pieces. And it's nice to see this come to fruition and see those guys actually be able to go out and execute his game plan. And you're right, it does give you a little bit of confidence. I do think they make the playoffs as well.
If ever a team needed a hot start, it's the Pistons, man, because they needed to do anything to fill the seats because of their play. I mean, really, when you have made the playoffs since 2009, the fan base is looking for something exciting, and this young group with Stanley Johnson, maybe his potential, can get some people to watch, and I think they turn it around this year, and it's going to be a fun year. I'm actually looking forward to adding the Pistons because we really didn't talk about them a lot last year. Definitely.
Yeah, it'll be good. And we've got Jerry over here, and you want to do a Pistons monthly, right?
Yeah, we're going to do a Pistons monthly. Me and a very strong, knowledgeable, enthusiastic Pistons guy named Kevin Evans. We've been going around with some names. I think we're going to go with Count That Baby in the File. It's an homage to George Blaha. It'll be once a month, so we'll definitely get to sit down and talk about Pistons. It's going to be fun. One last point, too. Another thing I like about this team, they finally have an owner that's willing to spend money. Bill Davison, He was very strict about that luxury tax. He didn't want to go over it. We're already gearing up next year to go over it. $13 million of cap space, and then sign Andre Drummond. So we've got an owner that's committed to spending money too. So with the young guys, it should be an exciting year. So you guys will get to hear us once a month talk about the Stones.
For sure. And then also, too, if things come up, we got a guy here, too, because we love to talk with anybody on the network that knows their stuff. So, Jerry, if there's anything at all about basketball that comes up, we'll definitely count you in and call you up on the Doc and Jock show for sure.
Sounds good.
Let's take a break here. Great job, gentlemen. Take a break here. We'll come back, talk some wings. Sound good?
Sound good.
Sounds great.
All right, let's do it.
Doc and Jock, episode 116, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I want to tell everyone out there about DetroitSportsNation.com. They're a great website, and they've been very supportive to all the shows on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. They host all the podcasts. They have great writers that cover all the Detroit teams, all the college teams. Check out their website and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. The collaboration has been excellent, and it's helped us to continue to grow and have great guests, take phone calls. So our collaboration with the Detroit Sports Nation has really been successful, and support those who support us. DetroitSportsNation.com. Welcome back. Thank you for downloading and listening to this podcast. We want to thank everyone again who supported us and downloaded our podcast on the many platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Podomatic, the DetroitSportsNation.com website. We can't continue to do this project without your support, and big things are happening at the network. We're adding new shows. We get to meet great individuals like Jerry, like Vito, like everyone that's doing shows on the network, and that's why we love doing it. We get to break down sports on our terms, and with your support, by clicking through those banner links on our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. If you shop online at Amazon, all those ways you support us help keep the microphones hot, the office lights on, and we keep doing this great podcast. And we get to do one-on-one specials. So the support that we're getting is getting out there, and because of that, we're grateful. We get a chance to do great interviews, and that hopefully some good thoughts are being spread regarding the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. All right, cuz the start was great for the Red Wings, and the last after the first three games,
That's right.
It's been pretty crappy, man. And the first thing I'm noticing is, man, what does it take in hockey to get a shot off? The Red Wings make it look like it's almost impossible to shoot. They're getting outshot by a lot. And since that first 3-game stretch, we ain't looking that good.
Dude, that's been probably my biggest concern this season.
Shoot the damn puck!
Is not being able to generate shots. In the NHL, the only way you score is by shooting. You don't score on shots you don't take. This reminds me of the old Red Wings, where they would sit there and they'd generate like 15 shots a game, but they were so talented that they would win. This young team isn't talented enough yet to be able to sit there and only generate 12 shots and get W's.
Like they're waiting for the perfect setup, the perfect pass. Sometimes just shoot the dang thing, man.
You got guys in front of the net, just throw it at the net. Crazy things happen. I mean, in the game against Carolina that took place on Tuesday, they sat there. There were, I think, 2 or 3 goals that just went in. They were fluky. Just went in just because the puck got thrown at the net, and it just kind of squeezes through.
Goes off rebounds.
That's it. And that's what you have to do. I mean, you got to shoot the puck to score, and we're not getting enough scoring out of these guys. You basically have your first line and your second line, and those guys are the ones who are putting the puck in the back of the net. You got to start shooting. You got to start scoring. The goaltending has been playing exceptional. Goaltending has looked great this entire season. You just got to put the puck on net, man.
But that Mrazek mistake yesterday versus Carolina was putrid.
Dude,
you can't give up a goal like that.
I have no idea what he was doing, because he
What
had
the hell?
he
Yeah.
had 2 players off on the left side. He went to go play it up the right side, where he had one guy who was basically, there was a Carolina player in front, and there was a Carolina player behind the Detroit Red Wing. So instead of going to the left side where the 2 wings were, he went to the side where the 2 Carolina players were and the 1 wing was. And he ends up bouncing it off the guy's chest, and the puck ends up going in the net. It was brutal, absolutely brutal. But besides that, I mean, early on this season, these guys have played out of their minds, standing on their heads, really backing these guys up. So I don't think goaltending is going to be an issue this year. I think what's going to be a bigger question with the goaltending is, who's your number one? And I don't think they've got that figured out
don't.
yet, which is maybe a good thing. Having two goalies that are studs.
I don't think the goaltending is going to hold up. And that's what I'm worried about. I want to see this offense get things going because the goaltending has been, pretty much carrying them so far.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do it all year. They're going to have the droughts. And when they do have those droughts, you want to see guys step up. Like you say, the number of shots increases your chance of scoring. I'm a little worried, too, about the injuries. This is something that is a common theme with our boys. They're always hurt. Which, it's hockey. Guys get hurt. But it seems to be a special problem for the Wings, and they're starting to add up already. So I'm a little bit worried about the injuries that are piling up, and I'm hoping this doesn't become the theme. Oh, they could have been good this year if – we say that almost every year. Well, if this guy was healthy or, if this guy would have stayed on the ice. So I'm hoping that's not the narrative this year.
Yeah, is there a rule against signing a free agent that's not in his mid-30s and injury-prone? I mean, come on now. Richards – he was a guy that, I know what his role was going to be when he came in here, but he's already hurt. And you got Mike Green, who we all wanted, big time defenseman, but he's hurt. So right now you got to start looking at Ken Holland's been swinging and whiffing at his free agent signings the last couple of years.
I don't know about that. I think this just, you got players, you end up bringing players in, let's be honest, good young talent isn't necessarily going to be out there unless they have a few problems. So you go out there, you get a guy like a Brad Richards who's up there in age. You bring him in because he's a leader and he doesn't mind playing a third line. You go out, you get a guy like Mike Green, who the Wings have coveted for years. The Wings have coveted him for, since they basically traded for Robert Lang.
Now, was Green the guy who's out with the groin injury?
I think that's Quincy who's out with the groin. You go out, I think Green's got a concussion, I believe, or he got hit in the head. So you go out, you get these guys, you bring them in, and like Jerry said, injuries they're going to happen. It's what it is. But the thing that sucks is you're losing two of your top four defensemen in Mike Green, Kyle Quincy. So now that puts more pressure on that defense, and you got to bring guys up from the minors. You got to bring some young kids in like Marchenko, who had a great play against Carolina with Jordan Stahl, and then you lose some of that scoring touch, some of that playmaking ability with a guy like Brad Richards. And the thing that is probably a bigger issue right now is the Wings are very front-loaded with their schedule. They're playing 20 of their next 30 games at home, and you have to win at home.
It's going to get hard.
Yeah, you have to win at home in order to sit there and be dominant in the playoffs. And in the way this new NHL is structured and the way the new playoff system is structured, you really want to be one of those top two teams in order to get that advantage. So you got to sit there, you got to win at home. It makes it that much harder when you lose a guy like Mike Green, a guy like Kyle Quincy, a guy like Brad Richards. The good news is Pavel Datsyuk is skating now. He is getting healthy. They're looking at maybe mid-November. I seen some video of him the other day. He's looking good. He's moving around really well. That ankle looks like it's holding up, which is good. So hopefully he comes back maybe a little bit sooner. You work him into the mix. I think that offense becomes much more potent when you get the Magic Man in there.
What's been your early impressions of Blashill? I know a lot of people have mentioned that, wow, he waited. Once they struggled a little bit, he was willing to mix and match the lines. He changed up the defensive pairings, and they were basically comparing him to Coach Caldwell, who just kind of is, like Jerry said, like we've said, just kind of staying with the status quo, saying that, hey, it's all about execution and not scheme. But Blashill's been willing to make the changes, and I like what I like his calm, I like his demeanor. I like the fact of what he's been doing. It's just right now we got to get results. We got to get those points because last year they got barely above 100 points, and that was not even good enough for a top 6 seed. It's tough. You got to get those points.
My biggest concern with Blashill is, does he motivate that locker room? Sometimes you get a coach who's totally different from what you had, totally different from the norm, where the norm was Mike Babcock would come in and he would grind you, and push you. Now you get Blashill in there. He's a little bit lighter, a little bit easier, a little bit more even-handed and softer with these guys. So do these guys now start to maybe slack off a little bit? Maybe don't get themselves up as much for a game. Maybe don't sit there in the drive and the urgency isn't there like it used to be. So that's when guys like Zetterberg, guys like having a Datsyuk in the locker room, guys like a Richards, having him, that's when having these older veterans come in and be able to motivate and push these younger kids. Because now this is a much younger lineup. I think we're forgetting that. It's a much younger lineup than what they've had the previous, 12 seasons. So you got to get that veteran leadership. And when you have a softer coach like that, those guys have to be much more outspoken. And Zetterberg doesn't really strike me as a guy who really speaks out a lot. He kind of lets his play do his talking for him. Datsuk's really similar, maybe even more quiet. So you're going to have to find that vocal leader who really gets into these guys' grill and just kind of tells them, like, look, we got to go out, we got to push. And I heard an interview with Mrazek the other day. He basically came out and said, like, hey, I think it was Mrazek. I could be wrong. Might have been Palkinen. Came out and said, like, in the Vancouver game, they knew that they didn't play good the first 40 minutes. And they knew going into the locker room, no excuses. No excuses whatsoever. We've got to turn it on. And they came out and they basically played their pants off the next 20 some odd minutes and won that game. So, I mean, if they can find that motivation and keep that motivation for an entire game, I think we're looking at this team much different, and we're talking about them much more differently.
Yeah, it's going to have to come from within. Like you said, Blashill is quite different from Babcock. Someone made this comparison, and when they said this, I thought about Babcock. They were talking about Bill Belichick. Basically, the team hates him 364 days out of the year. One year they love him is when they got the rings. And, Babcock, Stanley Cups and everything, but they pretty much probably hated him all the time until the results were there. It's a breath of fresh air for them, but they probably need that discipline because they're not getting that discipline from Blashill. Like you say, our leaders are a little soft-spoken. It's just like what's going on with the Lions. Caldwell's kind of quiet. Their biggest leaders are kind of quiet. They're going to have to find that, though, because they don't have their Lidströms and your Yzermans, your Chelios, guys that would speak up, and they don't even have the coach. So that's something that we might have to look at. I'm going to start paying attention to their effort, making sure they're giving that full 60-minute effort because they don't have a leader right now, whether it's the coach or the players that I see that can really push them at the moment.
Well, now we're at the point in the show where I got to take some medicine. I think I got whooped last week in the picks.
Oh, boy.
Did I go 0?
No, you got 1.
Oh, man.
It was a hot diaper.
Yeah. I knew I got the Washington game right, just didn't cover the spread.
Oh, man.
Right now, Jock leads in the NFL Pick'em Challenge, 17-13. We picked 3 games versus the spread, and the Lions game for the extra bonus point. And this year, we've rotated. We've done it now. This is our 3rd year. We've rotated. He won the first year. I won the second year. And right now, he's putting a whooping on me. 17-13, what we call the NFL Pick'em Challenge. Who you got this week?
All right, these lines this week suck. Like, looking through them, they are absolutely brutal. So I'm kind of taking the girl way out for some of these games, so don't crucify me, but these lines are absolutely atrocious. I'm taking with my first game, I'm taking the Chicago Bears, who are hosting the Minnesota Vikings. This is a pick'em. Bears are coming off of a bye week, and the Vikings are coming off an emotional comeback win in Detroit where they manhandled the Lions. I'm expecting a little bit of a letdown from Minnesota in Soldier Field, so give me the Bears.
Okay. I'm always a guy that likes to take the points. I think that Miami is going to have a tough time going into New England and staying with them, but I do think 8 points is quite a bit. So my first pick, I'm taking Miami +8, hanging in there with New England in a tough, tight loss, maybe in a 30-26 kind of fashion.
Ooh. All right, with my next game, Steelers have boned me twice this year. I'm looking to get boned a 3rd time. I like that black and gold. So I'm taking the Steelers +1.5, hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, who are coming off of a bye. Big Ben is back. That offense has all of its pieces and as is constructed the way we've seen it on paper before the season even started. All right, Bengals have given up 90 points in their last 4 games, and I find it hard to trust Gingers.
Listen,
they have no soul, bro.
Listen, I'm all aboard the Carson Palmer train. I love what's going on. I love everything that's going on over there in Arizona. They're running a nice, tight ship. They're playing well. They're going to Cleveland. They're a 4.5-point favorite. I think they're going to dominate. I don't think Cleveland can hang with Arizona. I don't know what is going on over there at Cleveland. I think they're in the same boat as the Lions in that they make decisions that are just ridiculous. I like everything. I like the offense. I like the resurgence of Chris Johnson. It's a great team. So in my second pick, I'm taking Arizona -4.5 in a rout versus Cleveland on the road.
All right, with my next game, Houston Texans are hosting the Tennessee Titans. Let's be honest here. Houston's hot garbage. Actually, they're probably one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. They just released their backup quarterback, Ryan Mallett, because he supposedly got caught in traffic and missed the team charter to London. How does that happen? But you know what? I love J.J. Watt. And Houston's at home. And I think even less of the Tennessee Titans. So give me the Houston Watts, baby.
All right, so my third pick, again, I'm going to take the points. I think I see St. Louis at home -8. That's a big spread. I know San Francisco is going to struggle to score, but I don't think that they're going to get blown out. I know that these divisional games are usually tight. They usually play well. San Francisco's got to get some things together. But when you got a guy like Colin Kaepernick, I don't understand why they're misusing him this way. He is, being misused.
It's the Tom Sula effect, bro.
Their head coach doesn't look like he knows what they're doing. But, St. Louis's defense is great in fantasy. They pick up a lot of points. But I do think that they're going to hang in there. and keep it a competitive game. So with my third pick, I'm taking the 49ers +8.
Ooh, the 49ers +8. I had you put down for St. Louis. Let me adjust that. 49ers
+8. Now, we got to pick the Lions game. And, of course, each week in, week out, my strategy was whatever Adam picked, I'd follow it because it's a 2-point swing. Last week, he's like, I'm going with Minnesota. I don't know why I got the feeling, Jerry. I got the feeling that the Lions were going to play, and they played great at the beginning.
It was your hands underneath the table touching yourself is what it was.
Probably something was going on, but I got whooped and lost the 2 points. But I don't know. What do you think? Lions? Lions.
You see what he's going to do here.
Lions in London. Yeah, you got the first pick.
Setup, baby.
You see what he's going to do here.
Lions in London, Kansas City.
I already told you early on when we started this podcast, all right? Both these teams are just dumpster fires. Neither are worthy of you waking up at 9 o'clock to watch them on Sunday to just turn the ball over, all right? However, I have to pick one team, and I'm picking the Lions with their new offensive coordinator, Jim Bob. I think they're going to jail sex Kansas City. I think they're going to come out on fire. So give me the points, +4.5, and give me the Lions.
Okay. Well, I would tend to disagree, but the point spread is decent enough. I'll take the points as well on the Lions. I think that here's what's going to happen. I do think they're going to come out and they're going to display similar offensive capabilities, and they're going to be able to score and score repetitively, and they're going to play well. Are they going to win the game? I don't know. I can't sit here and decide what's going on with this team. They could look like world beaters, or they could look like the team that we saw versus Minnesota. But I'll take the points. I think it's going to be a nice, tight game. Two teams that are going to just maybe similar to the Chicago game, who wants it least. And in the end, I think it's going to be the Lions who will want it least, but they'll walk away with something like a 27-24 victory. So I'm taking the Lions and the points too.
Jerry, who do you got? 4.5 point swing.
Yeah, I picked the Lions straight up. So getting 4.5, I definitely take them. You know, if for some weird reason they do lose, it'd probably be like a field goal. So I'll go with the Lions. It's pretty much is it lesser or greater of two evils when I'm picking, the team to win? They both suck, but I'll go with the Lions.
Puts you in a weird spot, doesn't it?
Very.
Before we get out of here, Jerry, you think New England has a realistic shot, undefeated season again? They look good. They look solid.
No, I don't think they'll go undefeated. I don't think any team will this year, but they do look invincible. You know, they look really strong, but they'll get a loss somewhere. Even if it's just 14-2, 15-1, I don't think it'll be a undefeated team. So those Miami guys will clean their glasses during the regular season this year and celebrate still being the undefeated team.
But don't discount Tom Brady and how they use motivation. Similar to what D'Antonio does at State, they look for things to motivate themselves. It's usually tough to come back after a Super Bowl win and play well. They're playing unbelievable. Tom Brady is just in a class by himself, and I think they want to do it. I think they want to finish the year undefeated, and I'm going to say 75% chance they finish the regular season undefeated, and a good solid chance they could win the Super Bowl, because there is no team right now in their class the way they're playing.
If I had to pick a team, though, to go undefeated, if I just had to pick one, I'd probably go with the Packers. They got the Lions twice.
Yeah.
They got the Bears. I don't think they'll go undefeated either, but if I just had to pick one, and they got Denver this week, I believe, the Packers do. So
And it looks like they got something going with their defense, too.
Yeah.
Because normally their defense was their Achilles heel.
So if they can beat Denver, and I'm picking, I had to pick one team to go undefeated, I will go with the Packers, actually.
Ooh, good call, Jerry. Well, welcome aboard. Welcome to the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We look forward to listening, and your shows are going to come out. They're going to be great. The Pistons shows, the weekly Detroit Lions shows every Monday on the network, and we look forward to supporting you fully and kick off what it is that you love, talking sports, and you definitely held your own here. And welcome. Anytime you want, the microphones are hot. You know that.
It's a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on. And I love to join the Doc and Jock show in the future.
Sounds great.
For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, special guest and new podcast host, Jerry Mallory on the network, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.
Go Lions, I guess.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head, they counsel me, they understand, they talk to